Well, hello everyone, and welcome to CDI's latest webinar. We are going to be looking at Laserfiche Cloud, and the title of our presentation today, our webinar, is You Will Be Falling Hard for These New Features in Laserfiche Cloud. My name is Kyle Niebel. I'm technical trainer here at CDI, and I'm looking forward to presenting to you today. In our topic, you'll be falling hard for these new features in Laserfiche Cloud, are the following. We'll take a look at some homepage widgets and customizations that are available to you on the Cloud homepage. We will also dive into how Laserfiche Workflow and eForms can come together in a unified interface for your users and for workers. We'll show you a bit about why people are so excited about handwriting recognition and auto classification. This one's a fun one. I'm really looking forward to presenting this for you. And we can also use online surveys to get answers and reporting on what information you might be looking for from your clients and or from your constituents. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. We are automatically muting you. However, there is a questions area in your panel. There might even be a chat window, but look for the questions area and submit any questions that you have there, and we'll answer them as we go through the training session. Just type it in the box below and then hit the send button in order to get that question posed, and then we'll see that there. The presentation itself, these slides and screenshots will be available upon request only if you need them, but otherwise we don't send them out. And the webinar session is being recorded, and it will be available later this week. So look for it on our CDI YouTube channel for that webinar if you missed part of it or want to send a link to your friends because you thought it was so great. All right, our agenda today, we're going to take a look at 4 topics, a couple more in depth than the others. We're going to quickly take a look at the Laserfiche homepage and customization within the documents area, how we can customize some widgets. It's really pretty darn interesting. Then we're going to take a look at an introduction to process automation, including workflow and eForms, which Laserfiche calls business processes, but you can think of them as forms or eForms. And we're going to integrate those two together to get a really neat solution that uses capture profiles. We're going to introduce you to how Laserfiche can read documents, get data off of those documents, and as part of a process flow, capture that information, fill it out, and send it via email to users. Really cool. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to take a look at how we might build surveys and get those sent out to somebody. In fact, we're going to integrate all of these 3 items, process automation, capture profiles, and a survey into one single fluid process. All right, that being said, let's take a look at our live demo here and begin with some of our first topics. In Laserfiche Cloud, which I'm presenting right here, I've already logged in, and as an end user, normally you will drop into the home page on Laserfiche Cloud. Now you could navigate elsewhere, but on the home page up at the top, we have our home button, we have our documents tab up at the top, we have tasks, which are form processes that might have come to us, and we have a submit forms button where we can fill out a eForm and or submit content through an eForm. On the home page, there's just some areas here on the left-hand side. We have 2 areas which are relative to Laserfiche eForms. In the middle, these 2 boxes are relative to documents. And if you have any documents in the repository that you've marked with a star or you have viewed, you'll see them listed in those 2 boxes there. If you have built any searches in your repository, you'll see them listed in the document searches box on the top right. If you have any eForms that you want to fill out, you don't have to go to the Submit Forms tab. They'll be right there in that box. But none of these boxes or areas here within this form on the home page are customizable. In the Documents tab, you can create your links to different content in the repository. So this is document specific, or in other words, repository specific widgets, shall we say. So these widgets can be customized. Just click the add button and you can navigate to any folder, select a folder, and apply that, in other words, link to that particular content. All right, so just customize that. Once you've done that, you can change it. There's the little more actions button, the ... which then you can change it to one of these three choices. All right, if I had start entries, I could mark those, and any recent entries that I might have viewed as far as documents go, those might be listed there, and I could select one or more and hit apply. And then you can change these at any time. What's interesting though is on the link there, once you've set it up, you can only change the content. You can't clear it out. So you do get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas plus your built-in search box there in the top right corner for these document widgets. So I'm going to leave mine there as it is, but I think that's pretty fun and pretty easy and a really great way to have a quick way to get to particular content in the repository. And these widget settings are for you specifically, because you're logging in with a very specific user account in cloud. This is for you and you only, not for everyone. So these are custom settings here on the Documents tab for these widgets, as they call them, these boxes that are customizable. So the add button works all the same way in all of them. Pretty straightforward, but wanted to show you that as far as widgets go. All right, so having set that up, you might be going to submit some forms. You might fill out a form and you want it to do something. Now, in the scenario that I've developed here, we have, if we navigate to our repository, we have on our application picker in the top right corner, I just clicked on that waffle grid looking icon. And as a cloud admin, I have access, and you may also possibly have access to the process automation area. And so within that, you can build some processes, which might start with a eForm being filled out, some data being uploaded or input on that form, which then is taken and used for a next step, maybe in a workflow that takes the data that has been input, maybe does a database lookup into a table and captures more information, and then it might file a document copy that was obtained from that previous eForm, and then maybe an email is sent out with a link to a survey. So as we can see in process automation here, this screen has a couple designers. We have a workflow designer for behind the scenes automation. The business process section designer here, this is for building those eForms. We'll create a form, make it route properly, and capture data off of those forms. Bots here is kind of going away actually in the next few months, so we're not going to dive into that, even though our meeting invitation did include that as a listed topic. I think we're going to forgo that for now, as it is being discontinued in the next few months, or sunsetted as they call it. So workflows and business processes are a very powerful tool, and we'll take a look at how they work here today. We won't get into any of the details, but we'll get you an outline. Some of the tools here, if you want, you can automate the rules as to when a workflow may start using start events. We'll talk about surveys. These are like an eForm, but they're just a single form that you can't do anything but capture responses from and get reporting on. So we'll take a look at some reporting that's generated when we fill out a survey. And I'll show you how we build surveys. It'll look very familiar to you if you've already built a form in Laserfiche's business process or forms system. Pretty cool. We can also have a data lookup or 2 or 3 or however many in the data management section where we might set up a lookup table or 3. There are rules that we'll skip for now. And then more importantly, what I think is really interesting is capture profiles and additionally within that, profile groups, where you could have similar documents where we're trying to capture the same information, but the form of those uploaded forms might be slightly different, yet we're still trying to capture the same information. For example, a first name or a last name or a social security number. And I'll show you an example of that here today as well. So with those 4 pieces, capture profiles, surveys, a eForm through business processes, and a workflow, we can get a really seamless solution built. And our scenario here is to have a form that we can upload some documents that are read that then pulls information off of that document, maybe a social security number, then does a lookup for an email address, which then sends an email to us with a link to a survey. So that's going to be pretty fun. All right, so let's take a look at our workflow designer first and talk about that. So within the workflow designer, what we built here is, if we look down here, I've got a handwriting demo. In fact, we're going to demonstrate how Laserfiche capture profiles can read handwritten documents. This is something that you don't find in some of the other on-premise systems, but Laserfiche's cloud solution has handwriting capability and recognition of handwriting capability. So within the workflow, I have a workflow that is going to look for a document. Just pretend that the workflow reads a document, and that's this for each entry activity here. The search is just going to find the document that we just downloaded from our form. We'll come back to that in a moment. But imagine, hey, we've got a form that dropped into the Laserfiche repository or a document that we need to read. And in fact, what we've done is in the for each entry, I'm going to find that document. Then I'm going to run the handwriting capture profile. Okay, so we're going to run it, and depending on either forms that we're submitting, we can submit at least any type of form that you can think of. We can define what we want to read off of those eForms. Okay, and then once we've done that, we can take the data that was read off of the form. And I'll show you that here. If you can see on the right-hand side, we have a group of documents. I've called it a handwriting type group, but it's going to pull back some information. For example, last name, first name, address, social security, city, state, and zip. So these pieces of information can be found on several different forms, and I've uploaded 2, and I'll show you how we do that. But we can use either one of those to capture information and even obtain the first name out of there and do other things like rename the document and send an email. In fact, here's an email activity in which we are going to send an email to the email address of the looked up value. I'll show you a database lookup here in a second. And we have a hello to the first name, and then we have a link to a survey in the email. So we should get an email once we've submitted this and uploaded this form through the process. There's some other steps here. In fact, in the repository side, we want to move the uploaded document that we are reading in the capture profile. We're going to move it to a different folder and then rename it, and maybe even put some metadata on that document so that we know what it is and we can find it later on. So as the workflow goes, it's going to read whatever document was uploaded, take some of that info. In this case, it's going to use a lookup rule to query a data lookup table by social security number and obtain an email address so that an email can be sent out to that person. All right, so that's the process in the workflow designer. And I'm going to go up to the top left and click on our home button and go back to our process. So we built the workflow. So I've been mentioning, oh, we've got this eForm that we can fill out. which is going to trigger the workflow. Well, let's take a look at that process here. We'll click on Business Process. And I've got our handwriting submission form. We'll open up that design. And within this, if you've never seen this before, on the left-hand side, we have two main areas that we deal with. The flow of the form submission process. The green circle here means the form is submitted, and then there's some steps that might happen, and then this red dot means the process ends naturally. So once in this case, it's a very simple process. It's going to be a form is filled out and submitted. The document that's uploaded to the form is saved to the Laserfiche repository here in the cloud, and then it triggers that workflow that we just saw previously, which then is going to do its things. So this is pretty straightforward. Now the form itself that's being started, I'm going to double click on this green button, and we can see over here on the right side, there is the starting form called starting form. Funny enough, you could name it something else, but the form itself, I've just called it starting form. And how do we design that starting form? Over on the left side on that blue bar is the second main area, which is the form designer tool. We could create our own new forms if we need to, but I've already got that one built out. So we're going to highlight that existing form, and we'll take a look at what that looks like in design mode. And here it is. As you can see, you can customize this to whatever needs you have. We can add any fields that we need. As we can see, I've added an upload field, an email field. This field, the display name of user, that's actually hidden. You can create field rules, as they call them, to show or hide something. For example, if I highlight this field, how did that field get on there? Well, we just click and drag and put it onto the form. Very easy to do. Highlighting the field itself, we get the properties on the right-hand side. And on this, we have three tabs. We have the field label itself. We can see that over there in the top right, and then some other information. And then on the advanced area, we can see some other settings if we need to set things there. Lots of neat things like calculations, character limits, other content as well. And in our case, this field, I have added a rule, which is a, in this case, these field rules are for either showing or hiding content. And that's what I've done here. If we edit the rule here, you can say, hey, hide this field, and you can tell it when something happens on the form. Maybe a different field has been set with a certain value, which then triggers the system to hide that field. In my case, I just set it for always, so that that is always hidden. We don't really need it to show up on the form itself, so we'll just hide that always. All right. There are also other rules like lookup rules, which can be set to obtain data from a data source. When that field is filled in, we can do lookups with that information and pull back other information that might fill out additional fields on the form. We won't get into that here today, but that is certainly possible. So that's our field rule to hide that item. And in fact, if you want to see what that looks like, the design tool here up in the top right corner next to that big green save button is the preview button. So you can see what the form might look like when it's in production. So as you can see, the username is not visible, right? So can't see that field, only the two fields here. And it's autofilling in email because I've logged in. So you can preview that, and you can then close the tab if you want, or just go back to our design mode like I just did. You can create form titles, give it a title, description, set the pixel width of these forms. It's amazing how much information you can do. And if you notice up in the top right corner, the designer tool here in Laserfiche Cloud gives us some customization, which includes theming, some cascading style sheets, which is web page customizations, and even further customizations with JavaScript capability. but we're going to take a look at the theming capability here. And in this case, you can use a default theme, which might color the background and the text and things like that. In this case, on the styling, you can style any portion of the form itself. In fact, on the form header, I have added our logo, so you can always customize your own web pages with your own logo. You can set the orientation to be on that logo left or right. You can change the size of the logo and all other areas on this form as well. Change font colors, font styles, font sizes, you name it. Do you want to have an image in the background on your form? Sure, you can do that. Did you want to tile that image? Absolutely. So under the styling or styles tab, your eForms can be very customized and make it look exactly like the rest of your website, if you so desire. All right, so I've built the form to do two things. Check for an email if we can grab one. If it's a public-facing form, then it's not going to drop in an email, because on this form, down at the bottom, I've actually used a token to capture a logged in user's email. So if I've logged into Laserfiche Forms or logged into the cloud, for example, and I open up this form, then it should fill in my email, which we saw in the preview. But if it's a public facing form, there's no user that actually will be filling it out or that has logged in. It's an anonymous form, and therefore that field will not get filled in. So the question is, well, how do we get an email when we submit our document and receive that email? We'll show you that in just a moment as well. And then we have a file upload field or form portion here as well. And you can customize the capabilities of this upload. You can make it a required field or not. You can change the size. For file size limits, you can set a single file to be a maximum of a certain size in megabytes and some other neat things. But the one thing I really enjoy is under the Advanced tab, where you can change the number of files that you will allow to be uploaded. In this case, it is set by default to one file, but you can change that to allow several files to be uploaded, even though back on the Basic tab, you've set the single file size limit to a certain item, or you can limit the total amount of those multiple files to only be limited to a certain file size, max upload size, as you can see there, which would be pretty important in some cases. All right, cool, right? So you can customize this file upload and limit that. I've chosen to limit to one file at 25 megabytes, and we'll see that in a moment. All right, having set that, hit the save button to save your changes. And then if you've built the form, but you haven't added it to the process, I'm going to click on the, I'm going to go back here, click on the process diagram and just double check. If we double click on this green button, it shows that we're using the starting form. The submit button on the bottom will say submit. I'm going to change the text here on the submit button and just put submit now. And then I'm going to publish this setting. All right, now we're going to update, there really, you could say update all typically is what I do, but it's saying, hey, which instances do you want to update? I don't know if there's actually any running instances, there should not be, but we'll hit publish, and there we go. Now, as we can see in here in this process diagram, if you submit that form with a document attached, one, we've got a save to Laserfiche task here, which then comes into play. And as we can see here, what I've done is there's the form itself could be saved to the repository, but I don't want the form. I just want the uploaded document. So that's the file upload choice there that we see. If you have several different file upload fields, you'll see several tabs here, and we can then define exactly what we want to name that file, uploaded file. You can rename the uploaded file, and you can tell it where to go. As we can see down here, I have a folder path, and it shows our path right here to our repository under my folder and then under a folder called forms. All right, so that document drops in. And then if you recall this workflow, the workflow will be triggered, which then searches for a document in that folder and then runs against it. All right, so pretty simple as far as the design goes. There are way more complex designs, but as you can see, you can make it kind of flow in the background so that all the person does is submits a document and then they get some really neat results. All right, so we've built our form and we're ready to fill it out. Now, the one thing that I'll show you here under process automation is that workflow is going to read some documents. And in fact, I have some copies here, and I have two that I've set up in the Capture Profiles tool. I have a W4 and an I9 that we're going to read, and we're going to try this with both, and we should see the same results, but it's kind of neat. We can tell the system to use both of those forms, or in other words, those capture profiles, in order to find what's useful. So it really doesn't matter which document type you upload, it should find information off of them and be able to use them successfully. All right, so what's a capture profile? This is a great tool that Laserfiche Cloud has that allows us to read text or handwritten information off of a document. And all we have to do is teach it how to read it. As you can see, there's a new button and you can import a new sample document and then set it up to read that. And I've done that already, so we'll take a look at our sample here. So we'll open that up, and you can even update the document that's being uploaded. But I scanned a document and added that to the design of this particular profile. The profile should have a name and should kind of be titled exactly what kind of form we're dealing with. But you can see here with that form, there's a tool. You can kind of see that plus symbol kind of going around here. So you can design the system to read the text. And in fact, if you notice, I just put a box around that area and it shows you on the right-hand side the result. So I'm going to hit escape there. Maybe I want the city. So we'll highlight that box there. And notice it's capturing both city and Walla Walla, which means the box is a little too high. And there, notice it's now capturing the city name itself, not the word city. Now, you can change the zone. You can tell it to set an anchor point against the actual words on the page there. We'll zoom in a little bit just so it is easier for you to read. There we go. So we've put a box around the area, but just a little bit low. It does have a way of figuring out how high it is. And then we're going to anchor it to that city or town label in that area. And now you can capture information from that city or town, or social security, or first name or last name. Pretty cool, right? So now we're going to save that option there. And let's go back and take a look at the other one, the W4, a little bit different form, except we are also capturing the same information. For example, the first name, last name, and social security number. So now on this one, notice the social security number might be typed in or handwritten in differently. This one, it's free form, so the user decided to type in the social security number with hyphens separating them, as opposed to just pure digits, which if we go back to the I-9, that form actually had, if we look right here, we'll zoom in, the social security number is a fixed box there with the digits, and there's bars separating them. All right, so it read that box for those digits. Yes, it actually read the numbers of the handwriting and didn't use the separators themselves, which is really cool. Isn't that amazing? How did it do that? did it know that there were separator lines and you typed in, and so it ignored those separator lines in that box? That's the power of this capture profile engine. It does have a built-in ability to figure out what kind of information it's looking at. Amazing. So we love that. Now, I've just used 2 forms in this example. Maybe you have other forms. In our case, we're going to create a profile group so that it reads the information in there. And how do you do that? Well, you just add the 2 particular profiles in that group, and then it'll tell you if the information is coming across properly. All right, and in this case, it's telling me I've added the 2 profiles that we first had to create to the group. And then on the right-hand side, this is going to capture the zones that we're looking for, okay? So the names of those fields need to be the same. And then if it has an issue, right, if our profile zones are not matching because both those profiles don't have the same name, one is Social Security, one is SSN. So actually, we need to go back and fix that. Let me fix that really quick. Go look at our profiles. One of them should be the same. So we have Social Security here on the W-4. So on that I-9, we need to make sure that on that, it's also labeled Social Security. So the I-9, I've renamed it, but if we go back to our profile group, sorry, I'm clicking so fast. Let's go look at that group, and there's an issue where the I-9 needs to be updated. All right, so this should fix the issue between the Social Security profile field and SSN, which was on that different one. So it should join them together. So let's update that. And now notice we don't have an issue on Social Security. So now our field names match up. Now I'm not using address, the city, state, zip, or city or town options from any of these. So it really doesn't matter that these are kind of broken, but we certainly want to make sure that we are capturing data from the first name, last name, and Social Security. Actually, just first name. Let's go ahead and save this group and now publish the profile. Let's see. Go ahead and make sure. And so we need to refresh and publish our profile. So they even give you instructions as to, did you do something? Open the profile, publish, refresh, and then we're good to go. Okay, so back to our profiles. Go to handwriting. Go ahead and publish any changes there. I'll go ahead and make sure I do that for both, just in case. I did add a field on that one, so it kind of complained. Those profiles are now published. We'll go back in and make sure that those are updated, that we're all good to go. And now we can publish, which now double checks. And now we can publish all of those published capture profiles as a capture profile group. Great. So now, regardless of which of these form types that we upload, we should be able to do some info, do some things. So let's take a look. So the workflow was going to read those capture profiles, and depending on what was uploaded, read the information and then do a lookup. In fact, let's go back and look at the workflow. And there's our handwriting demo workflow. And if you recall, we're going to look at that info. We're going to capture the first name or last name, Social Security from anything in the capture group. Notice the handwriting group is listed there, not the individual capture profile. So we can upload multiple forms and it should read either one of them successfully. There is a lookup here, a lookup rule that's going to look up into a data source. You can see that I've connected it to a lookup table called an email query. In Laserfiche Cloud, there are data sources that you can build that have information. And in my case, I have a 2-column data table that has social security numbers, and email addresses. All right, so that should be used when we upload the form. All right, so let's see this all work together. And then we should also see, I don't need to change anything here, so I'm going to leave that. We should also see that it gives us a link to a survey. This is fun. Before we actually see the whole thing, we'll show you the survey that was built here. How do you build a survey? It's really easy. It's a lot like building a form. Just click New and add your fields that you want on the form, and then the user will just fill it out and submit it. I'll open up the one that we're going to see here. Here's the design tool. I added a form title like we saw previously. I put in a logo, and then I added 2 fields. I added 2 radio buttons so that we could choose our values off of these 2 questions. Think of a survey as a way to provide questions, and typically this is what we might use. We might ask for some other information, but checkboxes, radio buttons, and drop-downs are pretty common when it comes to surveys. We want to make life easy for the people filling out the survey, so this is pretty common. Once you've added them, just hit publish, and then we can, if we look at our properties on the survey, the survey itself is hyperlinkable. We can actually set up and look at the details. You can enable it, as we can see here. If you only want this survey to be used internally by staff who has a login to Laserfiche Cloud, you can leave it on private. If it's public, it changes the link from portal, as we can see here, to a app link. But as we can see, it's got a specific link and then a particular unique identifier. So in fact, this whole URL that you can see right here, I've copied that and put that into the email that is going to be sent out as part of the workflow. So we'll see that happen here as well. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead, and I've actually bookmarked the form on my desktop. So we'll go ahead and open up that form through my link. There's our form. I'm not going to fill out an email because this didn't fill out because we're not logged in, right? This is the public facing form and we're not going to be able to capture an email. You could type something in here, but I'm not going to. But I am going to put a document in here. We saw an example of either one of them. So we'll grab one of those, upload that. It's a single file limit, so it just says file limit has been reached. It gives you the name of the document. If you didn't want to do that, hit remove. But notice the button says submit now. So, right, you can change the text on the button. In fact, you can change the look of the button itself, colors, outlines, font size, etc. So, and even if it's on the left-hand side or the right-hand side or in the middle. So everything on this form is very customizable. We'll go ahead and submit this form, and we'll go ahead and do that. And as it's doing that, let's go ahead and go to our repository, and we'll go to my forms. And actually, it's probably already been processed. There it is. So it already grabbed that document, renamed it, and moved it. And now I should be receiving an email shortly that was sent from the forms system from Laserfiche Cloud. And here it is. So it was sent via do-not-reply@laserfiche.com, but it says, hello, Wally, we've received your form and are in the process of receiving it. Please take a survey of how we did. And here's the link to that survey form. And if we fill it out, it takes you to fill that out. We'll say, yes, excellent, pace is just right, and we'll submit that survey. Now, with a number of surveys in the system, guess what you can do? You can go to the process automation, go to your survey, and up at the top, there's a report tab. And now you can see all the aggregated information on the particular surveys that you might have in the list. There's only one in my system at the moment. You can do a date range, look for today, maybe other items, and then hit apply down below. So you now can see the mix. Now, obviously with one submission, we're not going to see anything but a full item there. And so now you can see some metrics, and you can change those metrics on either one to pie chart, bar charts, line graphs, etc. Whatever you need to do. You want to turn the marker off or on, all that. And you can download the data if you're in table view. Go and set all those to tables. So now you've got table data that you can download and manipulate in a Excel or CSV format. If you click download, you can get an email or just download immediately. So a really great tool right there for surveys. Okay, so how did it know to send it to my email address? Well, if you remember, part of that process was in the workflow was to do a data lookup into a data table. And so that was pretty seamless, right? You just upload the document, it read the information. Now, was there any, for example, was there an email address on this document? Well, we're only reading the social security numbers and last name and first name. There's no email addresses on that form, are there? No. In fact, there is a data table that the workflow used, and it has rows. It's got the social security number. I kind of cheated in this demo so that I had different formats here. But depending on the form that it found an email address from that social security info, looked up the email, sent the email with the link in there as part of the workflow. And we then were just able to fill out that survey. So Laserfiche Cloud presents a number of different easy to use solutions that can give you an end-to-end process, including easy to fill out forms, automated workflows to do lookups or emailing, filing of documents. In fact, if we go to our repository, I'm going to open up another tab and keep them both side by side. And so in my recent list, that document that I uploaded, I had uploaded the I-9, but it renamed it into the system. As we can see in the document viewer here, there's the document with all the data. Again, no email in here, but it read the social security number off of the form. Pretty cool, right? So that is our demonstration of our Laserfiche forms, capture profiles, surveys, and workflows. Love to hear your questions here at the moment, but that's I think as far as that goes. We'll go ahead and take any questions that you might have. Didn't see anything pop up, so I know you're stunned at how easy and awesome it is. I love Laserfiche Cloud for that very reason. So hopefully you have some questions. And we'll stay on the line here for any questions you have. To wrap up though, we'll keep this open for a moment. Feel free to find the videos that we've done in the past as well. Our main homepage is www.cdi.support. We also have a YouTube channel. You can search CDI_official or CDI. Should find that YouTube channel there, and some great tutorials on everything that we did here to a certain degree, lots of previous webinars, and some great techniques on using Laserfiche. So we look forward to seeing you visit that site. Please reach out to us here at either sales, support, or consulting, and we can answer any questions you have. My name again is Kyle Niebel, technical trainer, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out that way. I'll answer as soon as I can. I do a lot of training, so I might not be able to answer immediately, but I'll look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions. And at this point, we'll just wrap it up here. I'll leave the system open and let you ask any question you might have. But thank you again from all of us here at CDI. We'll see you at the next webinar.